Hey everyone, we'll just wait for a minute for folks to join in. Right. I think we have a good number of people on board. Great to see so many of you here and so excited to kick off ETHernals. ETHernals is the first ETH India online hackathon of 2022 and very glad to kick it off. Of course, slightly on a different note, very hard to see what else the ongoing crisis that's going on. Very hard for all of us to have to go through all of that, and our hearts go out to all those in distress. For all of you who have joined in today, there's a slight I would say speed bump for those of you who were expecting to be able to interact with Vitalik. Sorry to say he won't be able to make it today, and of course we understand that it is extremely emotionally distressing for everyone. That's why hope all of you can understand. But nevertheless, we have some exciting sessions planned for today, starting off with Austin Griffith at 8 p.m. and then at 8:45 we will have the founder of Polygon, co-founder of Polygon, Sandeep Naival, here with us, and we'll also have Siddharth Jain joining us later. So without further ado, let me give you a quick overview of how we have got to this point, speak a bit about ETH India and what we are aiming to do here. Yeah, so I hope folks can see my screen. And yeah, we started off with ETH India as a hackathon in 2018. It was a physical hackathon held in those good old days in Bangalore, and it was a landmark event, the first of its kind, and the entire Ethereum community had come down for it from all over the world, and saw some really great projects being built both at the 2018 and the 2019 editions. More on that a bit later. Since 2020, we have had a good tradition of bringing the same ETH India experience online, on organizing the ETH India online hackathons, which were month-long hackathons, which have been month-long hackathons in the same format as is ETHernals. We started off with just calling the first hackathon ETH India Online, second Money Legos, then followed by Chain Runner, Dap Jedi, Etherpunk, and ETH Odyssey. And at all of them, we have had some amazing projects being built by such wonderful builders. We have also had ETH India fellowships, so trying to go a bit beyond beyond just hackathons and hosting sessions that on a more taking folks through entire coursework of like the journey through Ethereum. So at every week, so how we worked it was that we opened up applications for the best builders in India, selected like the top few of them, and then had them on board for the fellowship. and we've had two of the fellowships so far. The first one in 2020, the other in 2021, and this time we are very glad to have the ongoing ETH Women Fellowship. Right. We also have a grant program now. Very glad to see this go live. We just went live with it earlier this month, and we've had like some great applications in. So if you are in the space and you're looking out for just some sort of bridge funds for your project to take it to the next level, please do not hesitate to reach out. We are providing grants of up to $5,000 for builders building on Ethereum from India. Just a spotlight on the projects that have come out of ETH India. The most widely known is InstaDApp. If you haven't heard of it, InstaDApp protocol makes it very easy to manage all your decentralized your finances across Ethereum and in a beautiful dashboard. And ETH India was originally built at the 2018 version of ETH India, and have, apart from like just a year later, they raised $2.3 million in funding, and 3 years down the line, they raised more funding. But more important than the funding, they have proved themselves by their sheer tenacity. And today, one of the biggest protocols out there, with a 5 billion locked in their smart contracts as we speak right now. And kudos to Samyak and Somay, who could make it work. And we are hopeful that many of you will also follow in their footsteps. Another success story has been, another success story has been the Convo Space. The Convo Space is a project by Eth and his co-founders, who have built this protocol which makes messaging across, preserves your messaging across the metaverse seamless. And recently also got funded by Tachyon, started off as a builder at our ETH India online hackathons, followed up with a grant through the Build India Fellowship, got picked up by the Tachyon Accelerator, and now have raised further funds to continue building it. Just a couple of notes, a shout out to all our sponsors. We have a good host of sponsors here, LivePeer, Polygon, Lightspeed, the Aave Grants DAO, Stake DAO, Uniswap, Chainlink, Consensus, Superfluid, The Graph, AlphaWave, Filecoin, 314 Capital, Hashed, Bikonomi, Gelato, Arcana, the Daplist, Markets.xyz, Alchemy, Unilen, QuickNode, and Spherion. Thanks to all of you. Without you, none of this would be possible. And we'll be hearing more about the bounties that they have on offer later tomorrow. Right. So very glad to see this metric, this stat. This has been the biggest hackathon so far in India, I believe, with 7,500 plus applications. So glad to see all of you so enthusiastic to dive into the world of Ethereum. The average age, interestingly, is 21 years old, and so glad to see such a young cohort build such amazing things. Looking forward to all that's coming up. We have $80,000 in bounties, more on which we'll be covering tomorrow in the sponsor showcase. So do make sure that you check it out. Don't forget, for anything, all updates regarding ETH India, do check out our Telegram. We're also on Discord. This is the Discord link. You can, all the action will be happening on Discord. Do make sure to save the link if you haven't. The Hackers Guide is also we have it on Notion. We have prepared a bit.ly with it, and we'll be sending all of this across in an email to you. So watch out for that. Our hackathon calendar can be subscribed on bit.ly, the calendar. This is the link. And most importantly, for this hackathon, we have always tried to provide a platform where everybody feels welcome. So it's very important to be respectful and note that no harassment and abuse will be tolerated. If you see anyone acting outside this mandate, please feel free to reach out to us. We also have a metaverse set up for you, which we will be engaging with starting tomorrow. So hope you join us in the metaverse too. Right, and with that, very glad to welcome Austin. Hey, Austin.
Hey, how are you doing? Good morning.
Yeah,
good evening.
Great. Good morning to you. And yeah, happy Bow Tie Friday as well, as always. And so glad to have you on board and looking forward to the workshop today.
Thank you for having me. Yeah. Let me know. Should I just jump right in? Should we go for it? What are we up to?
Sure thing, Austin.
Okay. Okay. Here we go.
Yeah.
I'll just share my screen. Oh no. I need to be allowed to share my screen.
All right. I think we'll just make you a co-host and let you do that.
Give me time to drink some coffee real quick.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. You got me here. Here we go. All right. I'll keep an eye on chat and feel free to ask questions. I think there is a whole QA thing too. We'll try to save some time at the end for QA. And also Denver, if you need to just like jump in anytime and interrupt and ask questions, please do also.
Sure thing.
And awesome. Okay, so here we go. The first thing I want to show off is scaffold-eth. It's a great way to get started. It's an app building toolkit. It has a lot of things built into it to help you get started building. You'll find that a lot of times you're not sure kind of exactly how to build your smart contract. You're not sure exactly, will this product resonate with people? So being able to prototype that quickly, being able to bang out some Solidity and try it out and see how it works, then also get it in front of other folks and see how they resonate with it. That cycle is pretty important in terms of building things that people want to use. And so scaffold-eth kind of like accelerates that process. And it does it by having a freestanding dApp in a GitHub repo. If you Google scaffold-eth, you'll find the scaffold-eth repo. Now there's tons of different flavors of scaffold-eth now also. If you're a TypeScript builder, there's a scaffold-eth TypeScript version. You can find that by just clicking right here on the scaffold-eth org, and you'll find all the different kind of flavors and varieties of scaffold-eth. There's also challenges to get you started, and we'll talk about those later. But there's a set of hooks, a set of components, a TypeScript repo. But essentially you have a dApp in a repo ready to go, where you'll have a smart contract as the back end, and you'll have a React app as the front end. And those two things are glued really well together, and they're supported by a ton of different components. And we'll get in there and really kind of see how that works soon. I'm going to drop a GM in the chat, GM to everyone. Okay, here we go. Let's start with kind of the heart of scaffold-eth, and then we'll work our way out. So you start out with the smart contract. And actually, let's back up just a little bit farther. If you happen to pick up scaffold-eth and you run through this, you'll clone it down, you'll yarn install, and then you'll yarn chain. Watch out for yarn. You have to npm install it. So npm install -g yarn, and that's how you get yarn. So it's just like npm. but it lets us it lets us manage a workspace. It lets us have React and Hardhat together in one package. So you'll yarn install, you'll yarn chain, and that's going to bring up this, which is a local Hardhat node. So Hardhat is our backend, and we have a local blockchain, and we can basically use that to send around funds. It's just like a public blockchain, but it's here local, and it's free, and it's cheap. So it's a great little sandbox to play around in. So that's what yarn chain brings up. Then we CD to scaffold-eth, and we yarn start, and that brings up your web server. So that brings up your React app and your dev server for your React app, and it should be hot reloading every time we push a change to our front end, or even if we deploy a new contract, the whole thing should hot reload. And we'll see that just in a second. Make sure any questions yet? Looks like we're doing okay. Okay. And then finally, you'll have a yarn deploy, right? And that yarn deploy should take your smart contract and send it off to your local chain. You could even see, like how much gas did that cost to deploy that contract? We could find it right here, right? And we'll get in and we'll see console logs over here in a second too. But let's just go ahead and let me show this loop. So we have a starting contract. With scaffold-eth, you'll have a your contract kind of ready to go, and it's wired all the way into the front end here. And so if we let's just add some exclamation points here, and I hit save, and then we get into that same yarn deploy. Now watch over here. We should get a new contract address, and we should have more exclamation points once the app hot reloads. There we go. There it went. So this is the dev loop that I want you to get in here. You just keep basically repeating this process as you kind of figure out how you want to write your Solidity. So for instance, I always do this, but I feel like it's such a good example. If I just make a little counter here and I set it equal to 5 and I push that, and that's going to show up in the front end. But while I'm waiting, I'm going to start building a function and call it increment and make it public, and we'll have it do counter ++, right? So that counter did show up over there. And then we deploy that. I'm pushing smart contracts out so fast. I'm just tinkering with Solidity, pushing out smart contracts. And as I add that increment function, now we have this nice button here. Oh, okay, now it's time to talk about gas. So, and wallets. So scaffold-eth, it kind of urges you not to use MetaMask out of the box. While you're local, while you're tinkering with this, there's probably no need to have MetaMask up. And it can get you in trouble with chain ID and a handful of other things. What software is he using? It's scaffold-eth. Let me paste it into the chat. Bickety, 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 bickety. Bam, right there. There's scaffold-eth. So let's get into that dev loop, and let's talk about wallets real quick. Before I start tinkering with my contract, I'm going to need some gas, and to get some gas, I'm going to need to send it to a wallet. So I want to talk about wallets real quick. If I do another browser and I bring this up and I bring up localhost, someone asked, what's the difference between Remix? This is very similar to Remix. You can go to Remix and do a very similar thing. Remix, there we go, IDE. Similar thing where you can, it's like an IDE in your browser, and you can compile and build things. A great place to tinker around also. I would say that like scaffold-eth is a little bit more, I think, newbie friendly. It's a little bit more friendly at this point where it just feels, but use Remix too. It's great. It's a good piece of software. Also, yes, you can use Ganache. Ganache is sort of what I'm using Hardhat for. I just think these ones are a little bit better. And I think I've spent a lot of time in a lot of mentorship sessions, one-on-one with people, watching how they use things. And I've tried to really streamline the process of you getting to the point where you can deploy decentralized apps. So let's zoom in here. I'm talking about wallets. So we have this wallet here and we have this wallet here. So we kind of have purple peach guy here, and watch this. If I close this and I make a new one, and if this, notice this is in an incognito window, we'll get a different wallet. Now it's a pink wallet, right? So these wallets are stored in local storage. They are very ephemeral. Think of them as very, very hot wallets, but they give you the ability to, you can grab funds from the faucet and you can quickly make calls on your smart contract without getting pop-ups, without worrying about chain ID, without worrying about the nonce being off. So at first, we're going to use burner wallets to tinker with our smart contracts. And all that's like, all of these things are set up to really increase that dev loop where you go from, I'm thinking about an idea, to I'm tinkering in with it in Solidity, to I'm tinkering with the front end, to I'm putting it out there and my friends are using it. And it's that dev loop that we really want to get you kind of accelerated in. Okay, so we've got our counter. I can click it and I can speed it up. I've got kind of two different accounts here. This guy can speed up the counter too. If I hit reload there. Okay, so with scaffold-eth, the main focus is this loop right here, where you're thinking about building things, you're tinkering around, you hit save, you hit deploy, and then you get that feedback over here, and you get that interface over here. Okay, now the next thing I want to show is console log. So what we have in our smart contract in this, so if we were to look at this stock smart contract, we have this storage. We're storing some random string, okay? And we have a function that lets us set that string. And we're receiving ETH, and there's a constructor. There's some things in here, just some kind of like things to have them here. And there's an event here that will trigger when we get our purpose, and we'll see that in the front end. But what I want to really show here is this line right here. Hopefully it's not too hard to read on the screen, but it's a console log right in the middle of our Solidity. If I do a, well, no, we've already deployed it. It's already ready to go. If I do a hello world here, when I set this purpose, what's going to happen is over in the hard hat node, we got a cool console log. So we were able to get a console log out of the contract. Basically, the contract is able to send us some information here in the hard hat log. So this is super, super valuable. Being able to get some feedback. It's a battle sometimes writing your Solidity and getting it figured out and building a decentralized app, because this Solidity is sometimes really tricky. Things like no decimal points, right? You might be doing some math and it might get really weird in here, and you might be wondering, why is the math not working? You can throw a console log in there, and you notice I have message.sender, comma, set purpose to, comma, the purpose. So even the purpose that they're setting is there. And then when we set that, hey, and we hit go, we see that over here in our hard hat node. So just, you're going to be iterating, you're going to be tinkering, but you're also going to get feedback from that console log. Denver, you jumping in for a question or just checking it out?
Just checking it out.
All right,
all right. There are a few folks who mentioned they're a bit lost with
okay.
So
okay.
I think I can understand it is a bit much to take in for folks starting out.
For sure.
Yeah.
Let me think of how we could even back up a little bit more. So what are we doing here, right? What are we doing? We're deploying smart contracts, right, on top of a decentralized network. So Ethereum is set up where we have all these nodes all across the world that are basically the protocol that we deploy to. A bunch of other nerds have set this up for us. This network exists, and there's a whole heady protocol and a whole bunch of stuff that happens here first. And if you imagine, what does that look like? Imagine the world and imagine nodes all over the world, and they're all communicating peer-to-peer. So we have this really big peer-to-peer decentralized network that's coming to consensus using proof of work right now. A lot of big words. I'm probably adding more complexity to it, but trying to think of if we look at this thing from 50,000 feet, what does it look like? Yeah. Imagine basically tons of computers hooked up peer-to-peer. And then when you want to deploy an app, you're not deploying an app to one computer, you're deploying an app to all those computers. And every node on the network is now going to hold your little app. And when I set the purpose to hello right here, and I hit send, that is a transaction, and that transaction gets mined into a block, and all those nodes across the network update the value to this new value. And so if something happens to part of the world and some of those nodes go down, the other nodes are still up and they're still coming to consensus. So first of all, with this kind of decentralized network, you get a lot of redundancy, but there's also a trust factor here. You don't have to trust anyone else. If Denver and I were going to try to swap a pair of shoes for some money and we didn't trust each other, one of us would have to hand over first, right? Like if I had to hand over a pair of shoes first, he could just run off with them, right? So what we'd end up doing is probably have something like an escrow. We'd have a third person in the middle that seems to be pretty, not on either one of our sides. And we would have that person in the middle kind of hold both the shoes and the money. And then once he had both, he would kind of hand them to us, right? That trust factor, right? So in this case, that middleman, that trust factor is this right here. It's this code. It's this network and this code right here. It's this smart contract. So the only thing anybody really has to trust is this smart contract and the code in the smart contract. And it's a very powerful primitive for building these, sort of trust minimized apps where I can build. I like to think of it like a vending machine. I'm building a vending machine, and it's going to run on thousands of computers all over the world, very redundantly. And all you have to trust is that vending machine is going to do exactly what it's coded to do. If it's coded correctly, not even I can stop it. So that's what we're kind of building here. And that's the network that we're building on top of. We're building these apps that are trust minimized, that are like vending machines in the sky, that let us kind of make a small change to some code and deploy an app that people can trust and no one can take down. Is that a good, hopefully that's like a better intro. Usually I dive right into the code because I figure I've got nerds hungry to build and I'm the same way, but maybe a good like kind of high level is a good way to start. Do you see anything more there? Should we pull at any other threads there, or what do you think?
Yeah, no, it's really amazing. Maybe a bit about how what the philosophy is with writing this code is like very different from how somebody writes for a traditional backend. So for example, I think I don't remember the exact number, but Uniswap is like very efficient, right? It's like they've written like I read somewhere some statistic about like how many billions of dollars are like linked with each line of code, like per line of code. And that's a pretty impressive number. So it's a very different
That's so cool.
It's a very different way of thinking about these things. And that's, essentially trying to make all of these institutions open source, even breaking all of these financial institutions is like the open source world in that sense. I don't know if I'm making that sense.
And building financial apps and building these financial vending machines, right? Like not all of this is financialized, but it does have money at the protocol. So it's good to kind of think about. And money at the protocol is really interesting. Maybe we can talk about cron jobs. I always like to use the analogy of a cron job in Web 2. So in Web 2, you would have some service that needs to run every hour or every night. And what you do is you usually set up a cron job and you say every night at midnight, please roll my logs for me, right? Yeah. Well, in a decentralized world, you can't just have a one machine checking in, right? First of all, like someone could get that machine, attack that machine, they could shut it down, but they could also get into that machine and kind of make weird things happen to the chain, right? Like they could post weird stuff up. So you can't just do a single machine. So what you need is you create incentives. Going back to money at the protocol, you create a smart contract that says someone can check in here once every 24, anyone can check in here every 24 hours, but only a single one person can make the actual transaction work. And then the rest of them are invalid for another 24 hours. And what you do is you add a second line to that code and you say, whoever checks in and gets it right gets paid a couple $100 or something like that. Basically, you build the system so anyone can check in, and you incentivize whoever checks in. And that creates a Web3 cron job. It creates something where someone is always going to check into that system as long as they're financially incentivized to do that. And that's kind of like, that's how a lot of this network works, is it figures out incentives and it understands the economics of it, and they make sure that, like, when you mine a block, you get paid to mine that block. So all that work that you're doing is to secure this network. So a lot of like incentives and financialization built in, but not everything has to be financialized. Like this is still just code, and we're saving values, and we're moving things back and forth, and we're making NFTs. But yes, there is a lot of value, a lot of value at the core. And also we have to think about our incentives and building things that will run forever. Even if I'm gone, my contract that I deploy should go on forever. Okay, should we get in and write a little bit more of a contract?
Yeah, for
okay.
Sure. And yeah, and
yep,
for folks who feel that this is overwhelming for them, like, do not worry. The beauty of this is that, of course, all of this is recorded, and we'll be sending over the recording to you, so you can work through them at your own pace. And trust me, once you get it, you'll know it, and it'll be beautiful. It'll be worth it. So yeah, I'll let you with that. I'll let you continue, Austin.
I'm gonna slow into the Solidity even. I think I'm gonna take this. We kind of went too deep, and I'm gonna pull up. I'm gonna slow into this. So some of the first things that you're gonna need to learn. So this is Solidity by example. Really, really great resource. Yeah. Get in here, and this is the best way to start tinkering. So pull down scaffold-eth, get that installed. Pull down Solidity by example. Even go to Remix and Solidity by example, and go back and forth there at first. So the first thing we're looking at is primitives and data types. If you're a programmer, you know what booleans, you know what uints and ints, unsigned ints versus ints are. Addresses are a little bit new. You'll see that if an address is just basically pasted in there, right? You'll need to go learn about key pairs and public-private keys. But once you have that, you'll get in here and you'll be able to kind of quickly, let's put a bool true. What I mean by just pasting stuff in is literally like, go copy something from Solidity by example, go paste it into your repo, go deploy. Oh, don't go to Polygon quite yet. Go ahead and deploy, and then you'll see your smart contract update. So you're not quite sure there's boo, and boo is true, right? And if we wanted to make a function, let's say every time someone sets the purpose, we set boo equal to not boo. Right. If you're a programmer, you should be able to pick this stuff up really quickly. Now let's test that, right? Let's make sure that boo basically oscillates as I set my. So let's try a hello, and boo goes to false, and I say world, and boo goes to true. So just think of, let's just think of this as just like normal, simple programming, right? We have primitives and data types, we have numbers, and we have addresses. These are your main primitives. So go grab those from Solidity by example, put them into scaffold-eth, and tinker around with them so you understand what the heck is going on. Okay, so now let's say you've got primitives and data types down, variables, constants. Let's look at some of these and see if there's, so there's local and global state. You'll have to kind of just like navigate through this and understand. Notice we have constants here that stay constant. But probably one of the first interesting things that you'll run into is a mapping. So you'll grab a mapping here, okay? And let's bring that in. And a mapping is basically a mapping from one primitive to another. And in this case, for any given address, it maps to an unsigned integer, okay? And it says, they call it my map, but to me, that looks like balances, right? So we're gonna have balances, and I'm just gonna go ahead and set the balance of my front end address, this guy, to 100, okay? And we're gonna go ahead and redeploy that. So now we should have a new balances field over here. Uh-oh, boo's still around. I think we got rid of boo. Later, boo. Okay, we should have a new balances field. And if I go check the balance of this guy, sure enough, it's 100. Okay. And let's say, okay, now let's create a transfer function, right? Function called transfer, right? And we'll make it public. And what's it going to do? There's probably going to be an address to and some kind of UINT 256 amount, right? And we want to send that around. So we have a mapping that's keeping track of some balances, and then we have a function that people can call to move balances around. And what happens here? Well, when you send the money, it probably subtracts the balance from you, the message.sender. Message.sender is a global. If you got into Solidity by example and you found their globals here somewhere, here we go. Let's look at Solidity globals. There we go. What do we got? There we go. You can get in here. You've got ETH to weigh, which we'll cover in a second. You've got time, but you also have all these interesting variables for you. Message.sender is the one that we're using right now. It's basically who is calling that function. Everything on Ethereum is a transaction. If you want to talk to a contract, if you want to deploy a contract, if you want to just send money, everything's a transaction. And the message.sender is kind of the from in that transaction, if you think of it like that. So we've got our message.sender. So we're going to subtract the balance from the sender. So we're going to minus equal amount. Okay. And then we're going to plus equal that to the other person. Okay. We're writing super simple code here, right? We're saying the balance of the person who's calling transfer, their balance goes down and the other guy's balance goes up. That simple. And let's try deploying that and see if that works. And you just want to get in this loop of trying new things and then going over to the front end and tinkering with them and making sure they do what you expected them to do. So now I should have a balance of 100. That's where I start. And then if I wanted to transfer, let's pull up another address like I did with the incognito window. Oops, I lost it here. And let's go ahead and transfer to this yellow purple guy, right? Let's go ahead and copy yellow purple guy's address. And let's transfer to yellow purple guy. See how you get the nice blocky preview there. And let's transfer half of what we have, right? We'll send 50. Okay, so now if I check my balance, it should be down to 50 now. Yep. And if we go over here and we check this guy's balance, it's at 50 also. So we're kind of like setting up the primitives of what a token would look like here, right? So one thing that we haven't gone into is ETH first way. This is another gotcha that's going to hit you as you come in to start coding in Ethereum. I'm going to switch that up. So basically, boy, there's a lot of layers here, but the EVM is what we're working on. We're deploying these smart contracts and they're executing in the EVM. And the EVM needs to be super simple. It needs to be a simple virtual machine that can run on lots of machines. The more simple this virtual machine is, the more folks can run it, the more decentralized the system is. So the EVM needs to lean toward being simple. So therefore, it doesn't have floating point math. So therefore, we do this little trick where instead of doing decimals, we basically do this kind of like division thing and multiplication thing. So when we were talking about 100 here, what we do is we take that times 10 to the power of 18 as it goes into the EVM. So we talk to the EVM in what's called weigh. And then when it comes out of the EVM, we divide that by 10 to the 18. And that gives us basically these fake decimals, right? It gives us decimals to work with, even when we don't have decimals in the system. And let me just really lean into that here. We're going to take our balance. So where we set our balance here, we're setting this guy's balance to 100 ether, 100, right? But instead I'm going to say 1 ether. Okay, so I'm going to change it from 100, and that 100 was actually 100 weigh. Okay, and we're going to change it to 1 ether. So now my character here, this deploying character, is going to start with 1 ether worth of value. And then when he transfers, let's go see this. What we want to see here is some decimals, right? We want to figure out how we can do decimals. There we go. So now you've got a little ether sign by it. It's really hard to see probably at home, but it's there. So that guy has 1 ether. Now, if he wants to send half his stash, he's going to have to send 0.5 ETH, right? But this EVM is super simple. It doesn't want to mess around with floating point math, doesn't want to mess around with decimals. So what it does is we're going to actually send 5 times 10 to the 17. We're going to send a 5 with a whole bunch of zeros because it goes from ETH to Way. You can even do like an ETH to Way kind of Google and probably find some good ones here. Yeah, that's pretty good. So one Ether is that many Way. See that? So what we want to send is 0.5 Ether is that many Way, right? And so the simple EVM doesn't have to mess around with floating points. We just do that quick little calculation going back and forth. It's a little strange, but it's just one of the gotchas that you'll hit when you get into this. And again, this little trick that we're doing here makes the EVM more simple, which makes our whole network more decentralized. So my guy has a balance of 0.1. Let's open up another guy over here and let's send them half of our 0.1, right? So if we check their balance now, oh, wait, we want this guy's balance. We're going to see 0. Okay, now when I come over here, I'm going to say transfer to that guy, and I'm going to say 0.5. Okay, then a little button over here. So within scaffold-eth, there's a little button that takes you times 10 to the 18. Now, obviously, if you're building a production app, you're not going to make your users multiply things times 10 to the 18. You need to do this under the hood. But for developers with scaffold-eth, I force you to do it here. And so we click that, and now we hit send. And we were able to send a decimal, right? We were able to send a fractional amount of our money. And if we go back over here, we should see that this is 0.5 ETH. Okay, so that's ETH versus Way. It's another gotcha, but hopefully that helps it make sense and kind of solidifies it in your mind about how that can work. Okay, so let's get rid of basically what we've built here is a token, right? We keep track of balances and we give people the ability to transfer. Now, if you get in, you'll find the ERC20 token standard. You'll see that they do approvals and transfer froms and some other neat tricks, but the basics of it are right there, and we're able to write it in a couple of minutes. Okay, now the next thing I want to show, let's look at our set purpose. So let's kind of clean this contract really down to the basics. We probably don't even need this stuff here. We don't even need the event probably. So if we carve this down to the event's nice to have. It's just basically emitting to our front end and setting it up. So we have this set purpose function. And if I save that and deploy it, and let's get a fresh contract over here and we'll poke at it. Okay, and I can say hello here, and I can send a string in, and I can update that value. And anyone can do that, right? So one of the neatest kind of next things to learn here is the require statement in Solidity. And the require statement lets you set a rule. It lets you write a rule and it requires that thing to be true or everything fails. Okay, so we're going to require that the message.sender is equal to, I'm just going to say Austin, and I'm going to create a variable here. I'm going to make an address public Austin. Usually I do owner here, but owner sounds like, oh, it's like an owner, and it kind of sounds like it's a keyword. So I'm going to just use a completely arbitrary value, Austin. And I'm going to say Austin's address is this one right here. Okay. And then I'm going to require in the set purpose that the message.sender, the person calling the function, has to be equal to Austin. And I need to spell that right. Who copy and paste their own name? And then I say not Austin, right? Now we've written a rule. We've changed the way this smart contract works. Instead of letting anyone set the purpose, now only Austin can set the purpose. And let's go audit that. Let's go prove that works the way we think it does. So Austin over here, we can see that Austin is that. He can say hello world, okay? And that works, right? Now, if we go back over to this other guy, this other, yellow purple guy, we'll grab some funds from the faucet, and this should fail, right? We should not get this to work. And there you go. We get this nice message back that says not Austin. So only Austin was able to get in here and set this up. Yes, it's like assert. It's not like require as in you're importing something. It's like assert. We're asserting a certain condition. That's what that require does. I meant to say it's like assert. Thank you, Nikhil. Okay, so now we're going to require something a little bit differently. Let's see. So this line basically only lets one person hit it. And like we talked about earlier, these things are kind of like giant vending machines, and you want like lots of people usually to get to that. If it's like a single withdraw statement, then of course, maybe only the owner or some multi-sig. So we're going to write a little bit different thing. We're going to change this up just a little bit. I'm going to make this so the function is payable. So one extra keyword there means now this function can receive value, not just paying gas to execute the function, but you're sending some money along with it now. And then we're going to change this require statement to be something more like the message dot value is going to be greater than or equal to 0.001 ether. Okay, and then we'll say not enough. So we totally new rule. This require statement is where you're writing all your rules, and if some rule fails, everything rolls back. We have a totally new rule here, and we're going to go ahead and deploy that. And our set purpose is going to change a little bit. There's going to be a new field added here. It's going to detect that this is a payable function, and it's going to say, okay, you want to set the purpose to hello, but you can also send along some value. And if I don't send along enough, if I do 0001, this is going to fail on us. It's going to say not enough. But if I come in here and I send along one more zero there and send, it works. So we're able to get past this by paying some money. Now we've really built a vending machine in the sky, right? This is definitely, we turned it into, this is a smart contract that only Austin can get to now this is a smart contract that anyone can get to if they're willing to pay some small price for it, right? And that price, hey, let's do it again, send. Now, some interesting things are happening here. The smart contract itself is starting to accumulate value. There's $5 in the smart contract now, right? If we send it again, the value of the smart contract goes up to 8. So now the smart contract itself holds the value. Again, vending machine in the sky that's running on this huge distributed decentralized network. But we've done something wrong here in the way that we've coded this. We can't get this money out of here. There's no way to get the money out. So if we had more time, we would probably build a withdraw function, and we'd use the require statement from this section saying only Austin is allowed to withdraw the funds. And a withdraw function would just basically be require that it's Austin and then send the money to Austin. But I don't want to kind of worry about the owner. I'm okay leaving these funds stuck in this contract. What I really want to show is that Ethereum is built for you, the developer, to be able to make small changes and create something completely new, create a decentralized app very, very quickly. It's the vision of this thing is we want to be able to quickly have any software engineer be able to prototype stuff very quickly and deploy it, and have that thing that they deploy basically exist forever. So let me show one little tweak here. So basically we set up our set purpose function, and we required that you send money, right? So let's take this 0.01 ether, and let's set up a uint 256, a number. Let's make it public, and let's call it price. Okay. So let's set the price equal to 0.001 ether. Okay. Now we're gonna get to see another little gotcha, and we've talked about it already. It's kind of ETH first way, but this is like, you can't have decimals in your code. You can have a decimal like this, but you can't have multiplication of decimals. So you kind of need to, yes, we'll get to the challenges in a second. You kind of need to do something a little interesting here. So what I want to do is I want to create a price curve. I want this thing to get a percentage more expensive each time someone sets the purpose. So what I do there, let's see, how am I going to do this? So they come in and we require that they pay at least the price. Okay. So they've paid at least the price, or it's going to eject. Then let's adjust the price, right? We're going to set the price equal to price times 101 divided by 100. And what I want to really do is even put parentheses around this to show like order of operations is really important here. Because we don't have decimals, we're going to put this in a way where we take the price times 101 divided by 100. What this does is increase that price by 1% each time someone sets the purpose. And let's go deploy it and tinker with it and make sure it does what we want it to do. So now we should see a new price function here. And I could put that price in and I could say, hello. And when I make that transaction, some money goes into the smart contract and the price goes up now. Now the price is at 101. So the price has gone up. Hey, hey. Now watch what happens when I make another transaction. What's going to happen? That price is going to go up again. And if I try to pay the old price, it's not going to work. It's going to fail and say not enough. So a single line of Solidity right there changes this from it's a vending machine that you have to pay this amount for to set the purpose to it's a vending machine you have to pay this amount for to set the purpose, and the price increases by 1% by each purchase. So we created a new kind of financial mechanism there with how we're setting the purpose, and now it gets prohibitively expensive as we start setting this more and more. So there's going to be some kind of annealing that's going to happen here, right? Where at first a bunch of people could set the purpose, but pretty soon it gets really expensive, and then very few people will be able to set that purpose. So that is just like kind of showing off Solidity, showing off how you can build decentralized apps quickly. You'll want to obviously start with like Solidity by example and start by tinkering, but then you'll have an app, you'll have something put together. And then it's time to deploy this thing, right? Now it's time to go live to a more live network. So let's go to a more live network. Let's pick one out. So the first thing I'm gonna do is do a yarn generate. So we're deploying locally to our hard hat network. And that is free because we just have a network, right? But if we want to deploy to a public network, it's going to be a little different. We're going to need to actually pay some money. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. Let's see. Can I send some? Am I on? I don't even know. Let's see what network we're on here. We're waiting for MetaMask. I spend a lot of time clicking on that fox and kind of looking around. Oh, let's see. We're not, let's send it from a burner wallet. I can do that. So if I do yarn account, whoops. And then I pull up, there we go. Actually, let me just copy that. We can do this. We can do this. It's working. We're good. Here we go. Waiting on MetaMask. I feel like I want to try to deploy this thing to Polygon just to show like going from 0 to 1. I think we still have some time, but maybe we could start talking through some of the Q&A if there are some. There's kind of what I want to end with is speedrun Ethereum kind of next steps, but maybe if you wanted to do some QA as I put this thing out into production just to see how it goes, maybe we can talk through that. Okay, let me see. We got Polygon here, Polygon Matic. So what I need to do is I'm going to fund my deployer account with a little, I don't actually have that much money. I love that when it's like, you have millions of dollars. No. Nope. What is that? That's probably enough, right? Wait, that's not. Oh, it's reading it as in if it was. Okay. My MetaMask is pricing my Matic incorrectly, but I think that should send some Matic to my deployer. The thing I want to show here is that you are dangerously close to production once you have things close in scaffold-eth because we've set it up so it's really easy to deploy. I wish I had that much Matic. Okay, now I'm going to assume this is ready to go, and I'm going to deploy to Polygon. How's the gas looking? Actually need to up this. I'm going to up the 100 Gwei on Polygon. The times have changed. Here we go. I'm going to do a yarn deploy network Polygon. So just like we were doing that yarn deploy locally, now I'm shooting that at another network. Uh-oh. Looks like maybe I had another. Wait, that can't be right. Because I generated an account, right? Let's try that again. Generated account, brand new fresh account. Send that fresh account some ETH. Maybe this is less important and we can skip it, actually. I feel like, and then I send that 0.1 and we ship it. And then that should take a couple seconds and go through. And with a brand new account, we should deploy some Polygon. I'm pretty sure that worked. That should work. Okay. last, I think closing, I feel I feel like we're hitting a bunch of barriers here. I'm going to try to deploy that, but closing notes here. Once you've gone from 0 to 1 and you figured out tinkering with scaffold-eth, you figured out how to learn with scaffold-eth, you've built a few apps. There's so many different branches of scaffold-eth. If you get into this, the scaffold-eth org here, there's a scaffold-eth examples, and also in the scaffold-eth repo itself, but there's hundreds of examples, 266 branches. And if you sort by active, you're going to find all sorts of really interesting projects that people are building that are very forkable for you. A ZK game. Who doesn't want to go build a ZK game? You could start right here with this Circum starter kit, and I guarantee you it's going to get you dangerously close to having a ZK game. You follow these instructions and kind of focus on building the extra parts that you want to build. So there's tons of examples built into scaffold-eth, built with scaffold-eth that you can fork. If you build something with scaffold-eth, please make it forkable, make a good README and put it out there for other people, right? We're trying to make this very accessible for other folks. But then, okay, now it's time to learn Ethereum development. You've tinkered around, you've got the basics, right? You know global units, you know primitives, you know mappings, you can tinker around with structs and modifiers and events. Once you get those basics with scaffold-eth, speedrun Ethereum. So if you go to speedrunethereum.com, and I will paste that into the chat now, Speedrun Ethereum is a curriculum that I've created and lots of other people have helped me. And it's been from tons of hours of mentorship sessions where we tried things and they didn't work, and we tried things and they did work. Speedrun Ethereum takes you through the mental model of Ethereum, what it's powerful for, what it's good at, what it's not good at. And you build apps using scaffold-eth that will teach you through the mental model. You'll start, a simple NFT example is basically following the instructions, but you deploy an NFT. But then kind of the first real challenge where you're going to have to sit down and write some Solidity yourself. Like the tutorial's not going to like help you out. You have to write this yourselves. You're going to build a decentralized staking app. And going back to that escrow example between Denver and I in our shoes, trust is super important. And decentralized staking is a great example of what Ethereum is really good at. You can get a whole bunch of adversarial jerks to basically stake that. They'll stake financially, and if they can't steal each other's money and they can't grief each other. You need to write all of your smart contract rules so everyone stakes in, and if you don't get enough money staked in, then it's like a state machine, and it switches to a withdraw pattern and people can withdraw. And if you do get enough money in, then it'll make a call on the contract with that staked funds, and something else will move on. Then you'll build a token vendor where you learn ERC20s and contract to contract interaction, and then you approve pattern. Then you learn multi-sig wallets and how multi-signatures can make a wallet where it's sort of like the starter kit for a DAO, where you get multiple people to coordinate to be able to make a transaction happen. Then you'll build a DEX. You'll learn about that price function and how a decentralized exchange uses reserves and LP tokens to represent those reserves. Then you'll use it. Then it's time to get weird. Once you've got that far, you're ready to do anything. We take you into building an SVG NFT. So let's see, did this ever deploy? Let's see what happens. To bring it all back, grab scaffold-eth, start tinkering, learn how to build. I don't know what's going on with the gas here. Some kind of hard hat error going to here. If I go to, I don't want to do that right now. I could go to another network, but I think we've almost got it here. Grab scaffold-eth off the shelves. Go to Solidity by example. Learn the syntax first. Understand the syntax of Ethereum by poking at it and pasting it into your smart contract and tinkering with it by getting in that dev loop. Once you've got that dev loop down, then go speed run Ethereum. Where is it? Speed run Ethereum. It'll take you through tutorials that will walk you through the important things, and it's giving you some goals, and you'll write some Solidity, and you'll have to do that. Then you're ready to fork anything. Go fork any of these scaffold-eth examples. Go build something awesome. Get it into people's hands and get feedback. Deploy it live and get feedback from other folks. Okay, sorry, that was a long-winded speed run, and we almost even started at the wrong trajectory and kind of course corrected. But hopefully that was a good start for folks. I think I pasted most of the links in. Also, I'm Austin Griffith. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, my DMs are open. Let's see if I can find me on Twitter. I am this guy on Twitter. Feel free to reach out. I'll just paste it into chat also. DMs are open. Questions and comments, hit me up. Denver, anything else? Do we have any hard-hitting QAs? We may not have any time left. Let's see here. I may have talked too long.
No, that's quite all right. And I think, yeah, a lot of these things, like I said, I think like to appreciate any good thing, rewatch would definitely help folks,
For sure.
And I think they'll learn a lot. But I do think, we have covered enough ground, and especially once they have the pathway. So how I think about it is it's more important, that we show the path through the forest. It seems intimidating, but once we have done that, I think I'm pretty confident that it'll be great. And scaffold-eth is just amazing to prototype all that you're thinking about in probably just a couple of hours. Once you get the hang of it, and that's pretty amazing.
I'm not sure why our deployment failed, but the last few things you would do is a yarn deploy here, and then you do a yarn build, and that would build your static site. And then you could do a yarn S3 or a yarn surge, and basically it would put this website up publicly for anybody to interface with. So that's kind of the 0 to 1, and just go 0 to 1 many, many times, put lots of things out there, tweet your builds, show your builds off, and get other people using them and kind of get in that dev loop. Yep. Thanks for having me. Thanks, guys.
Sure thing, Austin.
Happy Bowtie Friday.
Yep. Thank you. Happy Bowtie Friday. Bye. All right, folks. That was Austin Griffith. Austin Griffith is OG of the space. For most of you, an interesting analogy that I kind of think of is Austin Griffith is the Etsy Verma of Ethereum. Just the person who can make that light bulb go off. And once that goes off, it's up to you definitely to dive in deeper, and it'll be very rewarding. Next up, so glad to welcome Sandeep Nerwal. And for those of you who do not know him, is the co-founder of Polygon, and it's always great to have him on board. Hi, Sandeep. Bhai, how are you?
Hey, Denver. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, so great to have you here. And yeah, I know we've been doing this since a while now. So maybe getting into this, I'd like to maybe you could give a bit of a hint about try to give a glimpse about what is it that Polygon is trying to achieve, and then we can take it ahead from there for folks who do not already know.
Yeah. So and Denver, exactly how much time do I have? Maybe now 9 minutes, or for I can.
We have time. So we do not have anything scheduled after this.
Okay. Yeah, because I have one thing, so I'll maybe delay 5 minutes there. Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, I think people are asking about what about Vitalik's session.
Yes. So unfortunately, Vitalik could not make it because, of course, there's the ongoing crisis, which is very hard to even experience even on Twitter. I'm sure it's hard for a lot of people out there. So unfortunately, Vitalik couldn't make it. Yeah.
Yes. So Yeah, so guys, like really nice to be here, and all thanks to Devfolio team to always organizing these for always organizing these amazing hackathons in India, and um, get you guys to basically initiate or do your first programs or first ever dApps and all that on Ethereum and Polygon, and get you to get started on this industry, on this particular, like, yeah, I mean, now, yes, now it's an industry full blown. So yeah, great initiative once again, Denver. So in terms of, like, I walking people through Polygon, and should I share my screen for a presentation or something, or how do
For
you?
sure. For sure.
Okay. Because still, like, okay, let me share that, and then I'll explain why I want to do this again, because yes. So basically, guys, Polygon, why I want to do this, like, I can see already in the chat that there's a large number of people who want to know more about Polygon, and I mean, who already know a lot about Polygon, but I wanted to see that how I can, kind of give you at least a higher level idea of Polygon. Like right now, most of you guys know that Polygon POS chain is there, and many of you guys use it to build your applications. But what is the overall goal of Polygon, where Polygon wants to be, right? So, this is the brief journey about it, that we started in 2017, and launched our mainnet in 2020, and here, and since then, there are a large number of applications that have come in. Now, I mean, we have done a very large fundraise round also, as you might be knowing, and now it's like one of the biggest companies in the blockchain world, or one of the biggest protocols in the blockchain world. But what exactly is Polygon? This is the part I want you guys to understand, right? So see, when we are talking about any kind of layer 2, right? Essentially what is happening is that layer 2 is basically needs to be secured by Ethereum, right? And for any layer 2 to be to be called, like, we, if anything is calling it layer 2, it needs to derive full security from Ethereum. But Polygon's objective is, and Polygon's vision is basically is much wider. We don't think that only layer 2, which has full security from Ethereum, gives Ethereum scalability. We believe that there are multiple kind of solutions which can give scalability to Ethereum. So on this spectrum, what I talk about is that, see, from the left side you have low security from Ethereum. See that this line actually describes security by Ethereum, right? So left extreme, you have lowest amount of security from Ethereum. Right extreme, you have highest amount of security from Ethereum. Obviously, when with layer 2, you want to have a high amount of security from Ethereum, the cost and the security, the security is high, but the cost of transactions will also be very high. Similarly, on the left extreme, you will have very less amount of security from Ethereum. The chain will have its own security, but the cost will also be very low. Why I'm mentioning this to you is, when you guys are let's say growing in this space, and when you want to build your own application, you have to see what exactly suits your application the most. Let's say you want to build a game which is going to have millions of transactions every day for your application, right? You might want to start with your own, let's say, app specific chain. Similarly, if let's say you think that your application will have probably 100,000, 200,000 transactions a day, and you are good with the decent amount of kind of scale, but you want composability, like your application interacting with other applications also. In that scenario, maybe Polygon POS is a good chain for you. And then, if you want 100%, let's say you are building DeFi and you want billions of dollars to be secured by this layer 2, probably you would need a full-blown layer 2. And then the best part that that is going to come here is the Validium part, like where we are going to provide very low cost but very high security Ethereum secured chains. But this is like maybe end of this year kind of objectives. But this is the, like when you are going, and most of you guys, like many of you guys, like we see from India end up building their products on Polygon. I think right last few months I'm seeing, like, again, it's like 85%, 90% of all the products that are being built out of India are built on Polygon. So when you guys are going out and talking about Polygon, this is something where you can explain that you might want to start your application from here, but once your application grows, you might want to have your own Validium, means your application has its own ZK rollup, or your application wants to have its own chain. So all those functionalities are available with Polygon. Today, you might be starting with one particular solution, but it offers you the opportunity to or the kind of flexibility to eventually choose more solutions, more different kind of solutions for your chain. And then that Polygon is not one single solution. That is also like like this diagram describes this the best, that Polygon is not one kind of solution. Polygon POS is the chain which all of you hear regularly, but you have Polygon SDK or Polygon Edge, with which you can create your own chain. Polygon Avail is a data availability chain, and then Polygon Hermes is a ZK rollup. Similarly, there are multiple other rollups, ZK rollups that Polygon is coming up, and all these rollups will also be available in the Validium setting, wherein you have data availability or data going into something else, and then only the proof going to Ethereum, so you can have very fast transactions and low cost transactions. So this is some of the things. Also, like especially most of you guys are going to build these products, and we are seeing such a huge amount of Indian startups, and this is like so heartwarming for me also. Imagine, like when I was going around and trying to get investors in 2017-18, nobody was willing to invest in Indian startups, and today I see that anybody who's doing a startup from India, they are able to get easily they are able to get funding and approach some of the biggest investors, and like they take every one of us seriously. So big kudos to all of us that India is now being recognized as a very strong force in the Web3 space. And all these investors, this is a small list of like the investors that Polygon ecosystem has, and anything you are building, once you are ready with your investor pitches and all that, like do reach out to us, do reach out to the Folio team. We have so many grant programs, so you can initially at very early stage you can get some grants, or early stage convertible grants, kind of this thing which is being done by Polygon Leap Accelerator and things like that. And then when you are ready for your larger fundraise rounds, all these investors are available to you. Just reach out to us and involve, let's say, Polygon ecosystem teams and things like that for your journey. And then when you are ready, we would be happy to make these connections to all of these big boys in the investing space to you guys. And then like Polygon projects, I think you guys by now know that Polygon today is like the largest or the most adopted chain globally. We have probably 7,000 plus was mentioned by Alchemy. Infura says around 11,000 products are built on Polygon, 11,000 applications are built on Polygon, which makes it by far the biggest protocol. And then not only like on the layer 2 or the Ethereum scaling, but even with multiple layer 1s, Polygon is bigger than them right today. So like on the metaverse, like everybody talks about metaverse, but if you see, all the top metaverses are actually on Polygon, be it Sandbox, Decentraland, Somnium Space, Crypto Voxels, like whatever, like most of them are on Polygon. Similarly, like what are the benefits? I think I already explained that scalability, low cost transactions, security, and user experience and all that. These are the primary benefits. Polygon ecosystem, as I said, 4,000 plus applications, generally 3 to 4 million transactions every day. 16 billion in value, market cap and things like that. Then, I mean, I don't want to bore you guys, like, the NFT also, OpenSea is only available on Polygon as of now, and low cost minting, and, the community is pretty huge when you are launching something. Some details about the NFT support. And also, like, this is the main thing for hackathon, the tooling side of things, right? Almost everything that is available on Ethereum, 99.99%, all those things are available on Polygon also, especially also not only on the testnet, but on the production side also. So, anything, any wallet, any Oracle, dev tooling, hard hat, Tenderly, everything is available here. And what Austin was also mentioning, I think most of those things will also work out of the box with Polygon. So NFT and gaming, Polygon is pretty big. DeFi, if you are building something in DeFi, you would have all these protocols to interact with, on Polygon. And that's pretty much it. Thank you, everyone. And let's go back to Denver.
Thanks.
Also.
Sorry.
We have Siddharth also. Is this the Siddharth Jain?
Yes, this is Siddharth Jain. So he just joined in to talk more about the opportunities that you have in India here. I think
Siddharth,
are you? I'm here, Sandeep.
We don't see you.
Yeah, no, that is not going to be possible, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah. Currently in transit, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's why is Polygon your favorite protocol to build your projects on?
I think I'm a database guy, right? So even back when we started building, there was no data, but I think right now, if anyone wants to take a look at any of these chains that exist, right? If you just go and look at the data, I think you will get your answer. For me, obviously, I have more of a personal connection. But even despite that, I think if you just go out and speak to any developer out there, even if they're not building on Polygon, they would have definitely considered, right? And if they're especially in DeFi or in gaming right now, you would definitely find their deployment on Polygon or probably something coming up. Let it be OpenSea, let it be Uniswap or whatever, right? So in that sense, there are a lot of things to like, but once you start working with the team, there's no going back, right? So if you've spoken to anyone in the business development team at Polygon or back in the days, Matic, I think you would still be in touch, and anything that you need would be provided to you probably at any point in time of the day, right? So it's just the all-out support
from guys. If you need any support from Polygon, just reach out to Siddharth. Anytime. his Telegram is @Sid_31. Ping him directly.
Nice.
Always welcome, guys.
Jokes aside, Siddharth has been one of the kind of best what should I say, like enablers of applications on Polygon, and really, like, when you guys are ready with your products and all that, like right now, I wish all of you, I see 300 plus people here, all 300 plus people of you, to build something in the hackathon, and then proceed to make a business out of it, make a full-blown dApp out of it, or a protocol out of it. And whenever you are ready, we are all here for you, like Siddharth, me, Denver. Just reach out to anyone and we will help you. Okay, so Denver, I have to hop on, and then
yeah. Sure,
okay.
Sure.
Thanks, Siddharth, for joining us at short notice.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Sandeep.
No worries, Sandeep. Yeah.
All right. So that was Sandeep Nelwar, co-founder at Polygon, and amazing experience as always. And yeah, for folks who find some gaps here and there in trying to understand what was going on, don't worry. Like, we'll have a lot more sessions over the coming weeks. This was just a teaser. There'll be a lot more sessions over the coming days to get into the nitty-gritties of everything that we have discussed so far, right? Right from starting with what exactly, why does, how like consensus and everything works, and then going beyond to why there's a need for a layer 2, then what Polygon is how Polygon is different, what it's solving, and more, right? So now that we have Siddharth with us, Siddharth, if you have like maybe 5 minutes, I'd just like to pick your brains a bit, if you
For sure.
would have.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So Siddharth, I
People
just
are
wanted
asking
to.
my Telegram ID. I'm not going to reveal it anymore. I've already got 50 messages, guys.
So I think let me not delve more into that. This I think Sandeep Bhai has already done that. But yeah,
he's done the damage.
Do reach out to us, and we'll definitely put you in touch with Siddharth. Definitely find time for each one of you who's excited to build. Siddharth, I also wanted to kind of try and understand one thing. The most important thing is what we see, the bigger problem that we see with most devs is not about how to build. So the how to build is something that they have figured out or are able to figure out like through there's so many tools out there, but the bigger problem is what to build. So I just wanted to know that right now, what do you think are the most important things that need to be built in Web3? And what is the opportunity out there? Would love to have your thoughts on that.
I think this is a very important question, and I think some of the folks have already been asking this on chat. The answer is not so straightforward. Okay, so for people who have been in the ecosystem for as long as I have, we kind of see it from a very different angle as compared to some of you who are just entering into the space. So my advice to anyone who's just entering has always been this: go and try out all of these applications that exist. Try to draw parallels with what exists in a Web2 finance world versus what exists in a DeFi native world, right? And once you try and do that, once you try and use these applications, you will realize they're far from perfect. In fact, they're extremely tough to use. So just to give an example, right? For example, if you have to buy an NFT today, you have to go through so many hoops, right? You have to go to a centralized exchange, buy some ETH or any other ERC20 using INR, and then transfer it out to your MetaMask, go connect it to OpenSea, right? And then again, buy your NFT. And then if you have to transfer it to a different chain, it's a whole different problem altogether. So this is just one example. Obviously, this is a little bit more inclined on the legality and sort of regulatory side of things. But there are a lot of these parallels that you can draw once you just deep dive a little bit, right? For me, right now, it's very difficult to point a creator in a direction. Okay, if they want to launch their NFTs, there are ways to do it, but they're very complicated, right? For example, even if a YouTuber just wants to drop something during a stream and people just want to collect it, right? Or the same thing on Twitch. I'm pretty sure some solutions exist, but none of them are so great that people have just adopted them. They're like market leaders. So there's a lot of fragmentation, a lot of tooling is being built. The best way you can explore that is to just go out, try a bunch of protocols, right? Try DeFi, try NFTs, try even Web3 games, right? So then you will understand, okay, what has our experience been in Web2, and what is the current experience in Web3, and what is the gap? So never try to solve for a problem that you kind of invent yourselves, right? Like in the sense, once you have a problem, go and talk to some people in the industry, right? Try to get it ratified, whether what you're thinking is right or wrong, and then try to build out an MVP. And once you do that, DevFolio and we are going to take care of you, right? So identify the right problems, and then you're in safe hands.
Sure thing. And also, like, I think most people do underestimate the kind of opportunity there is and how many things need to be built. So it's like it's an entirely new way of thinking about the internet. And like I was mentioning earlier, it's an open source way of thinking about not only like, the Web2, like obviously this open source code, but it's an open source way of thinking about institutions. So, we are rebuilding everything and disrupting everything from finance to governance, right? So there's a lot of opportunity out there, and we'll find even more time like throughout the hackathon for brainstorming on all of this. And we'll also have everything from idea validation sessions to technical help and mentorship for all of you to build those tabs. And then after that, when you're ready for it, for sure, as Sandeep and Siddharth have pointed out, there is support for you to take your ideas forward. Siddharth, I think that's. I knew you were on a tight schedule here. So yeah. So I hope we find some time later on. I think you'll be
for sure. We can probably take one more question, Denver, if there is something that a lot of people are asking, and then we can close it.
Sure thing. Let me find that question. Right. All right. Let me take one more question. What's the question that folks want to ask? Like, if I could see some great questions out here. Okay. Is Web3 really the future? I think that's very broad.
You should figure that out yourselves.
Yeah. So one thing that I'd like to,
I think,
yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Denver.
No, I was just my honest thoughts. So there are things that are enabled by this that isn't possible otherwise, right? So like when people think about this, like it is like, think about the difference between email and like sending somebody a letter, right? It is possible to communicate using written communication, but then like you go to the post office and post a letter and it goes. But then email just changes everything. So it's that's sort of how much of a game changer it is. And if you see some sort of things like some initiatives like the crypto COVID relief and other things that has been was done by Sandeep, initiated by Sandeep, I don't think that would have been possible. Like within, I was watching the account balance for the address, and I think just in a matter of 24 hours, I saw it cross a couple of $1 million, which absolutely isn't possible in traditional finance. So it's a different mindset. Takes some getting used to. Siddharth?
So obviously, it takes a different set of mindset for sure. But at the same point in time, right, guys, you need to understand this, that disruption, whenever it happens in the industry, you always have new market leaders, right? So you've got all the IT giants in India. All of them have been working on blockchain for a very long time, right? But then to build out something like a Matic, it took like a bunch of people who came out of nowhere and like just struggled against all the odds to create like a $20 billion company, right? So the essence of that, the learning that comes from there is there will always be safer options. You can go and join a Microsoft, Google, or Amazon, right? But these are the bigwigs of the past. The future right now is being built by people who are tinkering with all of these technologies in their spare time, and now they've even started joining from all of these bigger organizations, right? If you've been following, we got the CEO of YouTube Gaming to join in as the head of Polygon Studios. So right now there is a brain drain happening on the reverse side, right? Now you've got the Westerners coming in and joining the biggest of Indian startups in the blockchain industry, right? So keep an open mind, just kind of try to focus on whatever problems that you can find, and just believe in yourself, right? Like if these people hadn't taken a shot on me or believed in the point that Sandeep hadn't believed that we can build out the biggest company in the world, right, in terms of Web3 and kind of solve a problem which is at a global scale, and Indians are solving it at the helm, right? So that sort of belief is important, and I'm really glad for all of you because you've got the guidance which we did not have, right? And we've got their folio back then was starting out. Denver, Shakti, and all of these people were inexperienced, but right now they're like the smartest and the developers like best friend, right? And in order, if I can just call that, right? So you've got all the resources. It's just about application and just about believing in that idea, right? And not taking no for an answer, right? So I wish you guys all the best. You've got my Telegram. I'm at SID_31. Please don't ping me if there is nothing important that you cannot find on the internet. But yes, otherwise I'm open to helping out. And yeah, please don't get mad at me if I don't get back immediately. There is a huge backlog, but I'll definitely take out the time to get back to each and every one of you. But yes, thanks again, Denver. Thanks for the opportunity, and thanks to all of you as well. Have a great hackathon. Happy building, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Siddharth, and see you around in more sessions that we have planned. Right.
Yeah, thanks, Denver. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, folks. With that, that was all that we had for today. And again, worry not. We have a lot of interesting sessions lined up. In fact, on Sunday, we are planning to do a much more chilled out session where a lot of you can interact with folks who are slightly ahead in their journey into Web3, and ask everything that you need to do, right? And yeah, folks, we'll be answering all your questions in that, and stay tuned for also on Vitalik. Do stay tuned. We'll definitely have him over at a more convenient time, and yeah, keep your questions ready for that. And with that, folks, I'd like to wrap up the session. Thanks a lot for coming in. Bye-bye.